The lake is quiet tonight, calm on the surface, but like most things in life, still waters often hide what's been buried underneath. Somewhere between regret and redemption stands a man named Marcus. A man learning that the choices we walk away from rarely stay behind us forever. And now, as sunlight surrenders to shadow across the quiet waters of the lake, we invite you into a story where regret lingers longer than memory and anger travels silently from one generation to the next. So settle in carefully, because tonight's story arrives not with monsters, but with ordinary people standing one moment away from becoming someone they never intended to be. Now, enjoy Talia's Delights Part 2, A Father's Regret, A Son's Anger. Be so ever kind as to hit the like button on your way in the door and subscribe on your way out.
The gym pulsed with noise as the high school basketball game wound down to its final seconds, the scoreboard already telling a story Jayden didn't want to accept. When the buzzer sounded, it wasn't just the loss. It was the smirk from across the court that lit the fuse. Words turned sharp. Jayden stepped forward, shoulders tight, ready to let the moment define him. Marcus didn't rush. From the stands, he had already seen the shift, the moment the game stopped being about basketball and started becoming something else. By the time he reached the court, Jayden was already moving, shoulders tight, fists clenched, ready to let the moment carry him too far. Marcus stepped in with timing rather than force, placing one hand firmly on Jayden's arm and the other against his chest, stopping his forward motion without turning it into a struggle. He kept his voice low, steady, just enough to cut through the noise without adding to it. Jayden resisted at first, the tension in him sharp and immediate, his breathing uneven, his focus still locked on whatever had been said to him. Marcus felt it clearly, the frustration, the pride, the embarrassment all tangled together. But he didn't try to shut it down. He knew better than to meet intensity with more of the same. Instead, Marcus held his ground, calm where Jayden was not, offering something steady to push against without taking control of the moment entirely. He was careful, deliberate, aware of the line he couldn't cross. Jayden wasn't his son, not in the way that gave him the right to command or correct outright, and that understanding shaped everything. What he had with Jayden was still forming, something built more on presence than authority, and he wasn't going to fracture it by overstepping. So he kept his grip firm but measured, his voice quieter now, guiding rather than demanding. He told Jayden to breathe, to not give the moment away, letting the words settle instead of forcing them. For a second, it could have gone either way. Jayden's body stayed tense, his jaw locked, his energy still searching for somewhere to land. But then, slowly, it shifted. His breathing steadied just enough, the forward momentum easing without fully disappearing. Marcus felt it and adjusted with it, loosening his hold slightly, not releasing him, but giving him space to hold himself in place. When Jayden didn't surge forward again, when he chose to stay, Marcus gave a small nod. It wasn't approval or correction. It was acknowledgement, quiet, measured recognition that the moment had been close to breaking and didn't. At home, the energy was softer, but no less watchful. David leaned back in his chair, casual but observant.
Hey, Jayden, how'd the game go tonight?
Jayden shrugged it off. We lost. Talia stepped in from the kitchen, drying her hands, her eyes immediately reading more than he said. You okay? She asked gently. Yeah, he replied, already moving past them, not ready to unpack the moment with Marcus, not ready to explain why it stayed with him. Talia watched him go, something unspoken settling in her expression before she turned back toward the kitchen, toward her own problem waiting there. At Talia's Delights, the pressure had a different shape, but the same intensity. The client, Hearth and Honey Collective, wanted her honey rolls reimagined, smaller, individually packaged, consistent across locations, and somehow cheaper without sacrificing the ingredients that made them special. The numbers didn't make sense at first glance. The logistics made even less. Shipping fresh rolls across multiple stores meant risking texture, flavor, and reputation all at once. Talia stood over her prep table, running calculations, adjusting batch yields, sketching packaging ideas that never quite solved the real issue. How to make something delicate survive distance and time without losing what made it worth ordering in the first place. That was when memory stepped in, not as distraction but as direction, pulling her back to a small college apartment where the stakes felt just as high, even if the scale was smaller. Back then, it was 200 cookies and 200 cupcakes for a fraternity step show, just days away. The budget was tight, the expectations high, and the logistics messy. A 6-hour drive, then another day before the event, and even longer before everything would be eaten. Talia had been pacing the same way, frustrated for the same reasons. "I can make them," she'd insisted. "They just won't hold." 200 cookies and 200 cupcakes were spread across every available surface, cooling racks balanced on chairs, counters crowded with mixing bowls and piping bags. Jill moved with quiet efficiency, rotating trays, checking consistency, and organizing finished batches with a focus that kept everything from slipping into chaos. Talia worked beside her, adjusting measurements and timing, fully locked into the problem of making everything stretch without losing quality. Nia, by contrast, offering a steady stream of commentary that rarely translated into action. She observed that the process could be more efficient, that better planning might have reduced the pressure, that there were cleaner systems they could have used, all without once standing to help. Jill responded only when necessary, her tone dry but controlled, while Talia let the comments pass, too focused on execution to engage in theory. When Marcus arrived, the shift in energy was immediate, even before he spoke. He carried tension with him, subtle but unmistakable, and Talia noticed it right away. What he shared came in pieces. Pressure from his coach, the weight of scouts attending the game that night, and concern for his brother, who had once again created problems Marcus felt responsible for fixing. It wasn't just one thing. It was everything at once, stacking up in a way that threatened to follow him onto the court. Talia didn't dismiss it, but she redirected it. She pushed him to focus not on expectations or noise, but on what actually grounded him when he played well. Marcus identified it after a moment of thought, the rhythm of the game, the place where everything slowed down and made sense. That became the anchor she pointed him back to, a simple but deliberate shift away from pressure and toward control. Even as Nia added abstract encouragement from her seat, and Jill offered a more practical reminder that he didn't have to carry everything at once, the moment settled around that single idea. Before he left, Talia made it clear that if he started to lose that focus, he needed to return to it, or, if nothing else, to listen for her. By the time the game began, the environment was exactly what he had anticipated: loud, charged, and unforgiving. Marcus started strong, moving within that rhythm, but pressure has a way of reasserting itself. A missed call disrupted the flow, and an opponent's deliberate comment followed, subtle but precise. It was enough to fracture his focus. The noise rushed back in, the weight of expectation pressing forward, and for a moment, he stood on the edge of reacting in a way that would have undone everything. What interrupted it wasn't force, but recognition. Somewhere beyond the noise, Talia's voice reached him. Not loud, but familiar enough to cut through.
"Marcus, breathe."
It didn't stop the moment for him. It reminded him of what he had already identified as his center.
"Breathe, lock in."
He stepped back, reset, and chose differently. From that point forward, he played with intention instead of urgency, regaining control not by overpowering the situation, but by refusing to let it dictate him. After the game, as the gym emptied and the energy faded into something quieter, the difference in him was clear. The tension that had followed him in had eased, replaced by something more measured. Talia recognized it immediately. Marcus had faced the same kind of pressure that once would have controlled him. He had chosen to control it instead. Nia, consistent in her own way, attributed the outcome in part to her observational support, a claim that went largely unchallenged, but beneath the lightness of that moment, something more meaningful had taken hold. By the time the step show finally began, the entire auditorium smelled faintly of warm sugar, cinnamon, and fresh-baked bread. Students flooded the halls in coordinated jackets and fraternity colors, music thumping through the building as organizations prepared for performances. But the real surprise that weekend came from the folding tables set up near the entrance. What had started as a desperate college baking order for extra money quickly became the unofficial centerpiece of the event. The cupcakes and muffins sold faster than they could restock them, with students lining up during intermission, asking who made everything and whether Talia took future orders. The adjustments they made in that tiny apartment, the packaging, the timing, the fresh finishing touches, worked perfectly. Even the fraternity brothers proudly bragged about the desserts to the crowd. Meanwhile, Nia happily took full credit for the operation, loudly introducing Talia to customers as Easy Bake Betty
Y'all better come get these cupcakes from Easy Bake Betty.
every chance she got. By the end of the night, watching the nearly empty tables and nonstop crowd, even Marcus realized this wasn't just a successful bake sale anymore. It was the first real sign that Talia was building something much bigger. Back in the present, standing in her full kitchen, Talia saw the parallel clearly. Same problem, bigger stakes, same answer. After days of failed test shipments and rising frustration, the solution finally came from thinking smaller instead of bigger. The problem wasn't the honey rolls themselves. It was the glaze. During shipping, the warm glaze softened the rolls too much overnight, causing them to lose shape and freshness by the time they reached the stores. So Talia changed the process entirely. Instead of shipping the honey rolls fully finished, the bakery began sending the glaze separately in sealed containers packed alongside the pastries. The rolls could now travel sturdier, fresher, and with less damage during transport. Once the shipments arrived, each breakfast location would warm the honey rolls on site and drizzle the glaze fresh before serving them to customers. The change solved almost everything at once. The rolls held their texture during shipping, ingredient waste dropped, and the stores actually preferred the fresh finished presentation because it made the pastries smell and taste bakery-made instead of factory-produced. For the first time in weeks, Talia finally allowed herself a small breath of relief. Because the contract no longer felt impossible, it finally felt real. Days later, Jayden stood on the court again, the rhythm of the game familiar, but something inside him steadier. The same kind of pressure came, words from an opponent, tension building, but this time, he held it. Let it pass. Stayed locked into the game instead of the noise. In the stands, the gym mostly cleared out, but Jayden stayed behind, putting up quiet shots that echoed across the court. Marcus found him there. He didn't interrupt right away. He watched for a moment. Watched the rhythm, the focus, the restraint. Then he stepped forward. The sound of his shoes against the floor just enough to announce him. Jayden caught it out of the corner of his eye and stopped, the ball resting against his hip. What followed wasn't loud, and it wasn't rushed. Marcus spoke the same way he had the night before. Steady, measured. But this time, the words carried further. He explained what Jayden had almost given away, not just in that game, but in moments like it. Control, he told him, wasn't about silence or weakness. It was about direction, about deciding where your energy goes before someone else decides it for you. He didn't dress it up. He didn't soften it. He made it clear that talent could open doors, but composure is what keeps them open. Jayden didn't argue this time. He listened differently, less defensive, more aware. The edge that had been there the night before had dulled into something closer to understanding. Marcus shared pieces of himself then, not in detail, but enough. Admitting that he had stood in that same space before, made the wrong choice more than once, and paid for it in ways that didn't always show up on a scoreboard. That part landed the hardest. There was no dramatic shift in Jayden, no sudden transformation, but something settled. The frustration that once pushed him forward now had somewhere else to go. When Marcus told him that the next time wouldn't be easier, that someone would test him again, Jayden didn't push back. He accepted it. And more importantly, he was ready for it. Marcus didn't need to see perfection, just effort in the right direction. And for the first time, Jayden understood that controlling the moment wasn't about holding back. It was about choosing who he was going to be inside it. Not perfection, not resolution, but a first step. And just like in the kitchen years ago, it was enough to know something better had begun.
As the sun disappears beneath the lake, so do the illusions we carry about time. We tell ourselves the past is over, that regrets fade, that silence protects us from many consequences. But tonight, Marcus learned what many discovered too late, that the people we fail to reach often become mirrors, reflecting the parts of ourselves that never healed. For Jayden, the anger remains. For Talia, the fight continues. And for all of them, the story is far from finished. If this story moved you, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And before you go, tell us, do you think Marcus deserves a second chance? Or has too much time already passed? Thank you for watching Talia's Delights.